Before Paranormal Activity and before The Blair Witch, there was Ghostwatch. Yes, guys, I saved the best for last. This is my favourite and most recommended Halloween hidden gem. Ghostwatch was released in 1992 and was directed by Leslie Manning and written by Stephen Falk. It was a Screen One drama production under the guise of a live broadcast that was aired on BBC One of Halloween night 1992. And what was meant to be a very, very unique dramatic broadcast became the equivalent of the Orson Welles War of the Worlds broadcast. Under the guise of investigating a paranormal event, it was to be hosted by Michael Parkinson, who was a British institution and, to all intents and purposes, the UK's answer to Walter Cronkite. This element was one of the many factors that led UK audiences into believing what they were watching under their screens was actually happening. While Michael Parkinson hosted the show from a BBC studio, it primarily took place in an unassuming UK estate where two young girls were being terrorised by a malevolent spirit, which they named Mr. Pipes. Falk took a lot of inspiration for the story from the Enfield haunting, which had been reported upon mostly during the 70s and was still in the UK mindset at the time. Adding even more to the legitimacy of the broadcast was Blue Peter presenter Sarah Green. She was going to go into the house and spend the Halloween night with the family, reporting any spooky activities, along with her intrepid camera crew. And strangely enough, Craig Charles from Red Dwarf, yes, Lister from Red Dwarf, turned up in Ghostwatch. I think the BBC, in order to cover all their bases, decided to put Charles in as some form of levity if UK audiences had become a bit too unnerved by the broadcast. The show starts off mundane enough, but as the night commences, stranger and more terrifying events happen, culminating in the Ghostwatch broadcast itself becoming one massive malevolent seance. Rather than people appreciating what was a magnificent dramatic broadcast, UK viewers were up in arms. The BBC was inundated with complaints of people who felt they had been duped, tricked in some kind of cruel joke. Others complained that while the broadcast itself was dramatic fiction, that it actually unleashed evil spirits upon the UK, which is fucking mad when you think about it. Sadly, things came to a head tragically when it was reported that one young man, Martin Denham, had actually taken his own life as a result of viewing Ghostwatch. Denham himself was 18 years of age but had the mental capacity of a 13-year-old and became obsessed with the show. He decided to take his own life, leaving a letter saying, "If there are ghosts, I will be with you always as a ghost." The BBC was even accused of causing PTSD in children as a result of the broadcast. So why and how could this happen? Well, first off, this was the 1990s. There was no internet. There was nothing to fact check or verify what was happening. You tuned in that night and that was all you got. Now, after the broadcast, after receiving numerous complaints, there was a bunch of announcements made to let people know that this was a fictional broadcast and not an actual live event.
It is, of course, Halloween, and if you were with us for our Ghost Watch earlier, may I reassure you that it was just a story, and all's well here at Television Centre.
Again, Michael Parkinson was hosting this. Yes, good old Parky. How could you not trust Michael Parkinson? The man was a pillar of the broadcasting community, and now people felt duped. British viewers wondered if the BBC could do this, what else would they be willing to do? The thing is, the BBC had covered all the bases. The introduction had the Screen One logo. The end credits showed that some of the roles were played by actors. The BBC hadn't gone out of their way to dupe people. It was just happenstance. I mean, if you tuned in 5 minutes after the broadcast had started, you wouldn't have seen the Screen One logo. You wouldn't have seen written by Stephen Falk. You would have just seen Sarah Green go into a creepy house and be attacked by some form of apparition. The fact is, Ghostwatch was just that well made. It was well paced, well shot, well created. I was 8 at the time, And thank Christ my folks didn't have the UK TV channels, because if I had seen this, I would have shat myself and never slept again. It was just that effective. Does Ghostwatch still hold up today? For the most part, yes. I think some things have dated, but again, it is so well crafted and executed, one but can't marvel on how good it is. If you want to track this down, I do know there was a 30th anniversary Blu-ray released last year. It was also up on Shudder for a while, but I'm not entirely sure that it's still up there. You can also probably track it down on DVD. I got my copy along with British cult sci-fi horror series The Stone Tapes. So yeah, it isn't the most difficult thing to track down, but strangely enough the BBC have held off on broadcasting it since the original broadcast, thanks to its controversy. So yeah guys, definitely check out Ghostwatch. It will make your Halloween.